Hello, class. It is Friday, so guess what? I've got my NLCA shirt on, and I'm excited about today. We're going to start out today by just doing a little bit of review with some reading. I want to ask you some reading questions to see that you remember what you've read in your book, and then we'll hop into language. So you may not need much for reading, simply review. You'll need your language book, definitely. So we'll start out with just a few questions. We aren't having quizzes anymore, but let me ask you a few questions to see if you've been listening to how to use these reading vocabulary words correctly in a sentence, okay? So the first one I'm going to ask you is, if this were true and false, is this how you would use this word? John lost his dignity because he cheated on the test. Is that true or is that false? He lost his dignity because he cheated on the test. There are thousands of trees in the Alaskan tundra. There are thousands of trees in the Alaskan tundra. Here's another sentence. A friendly person who smiles at everyone can be described as sullen. A friendly person who smiles at everyone can be described as sullen. My neighbor is afraid of black cats because he is superstitious. My neighbor is afraid of black cats because he is superstitious. I vaguely remember meeting you, but I'm not sure. I vaguely remember meeting you, but I'm not sure. Because I like my friends so much, I feel great contempt for them. Because I like my friends so much, I feel great contempt for them. And the last one, several people in the Bible were stricken with leprosy. Several people in the Bible were stricken with leprosy. Now, if we had made that a true and false quiz, would you have gotten them all correctly, using them correctly in a sentence? So the first one, John lost his dignity because he cheated on the test. Were you thinking that was true or false? If you said true, give yourself a pat on the back. You are correct. How about thousands of trees in the Alaskan tundra? False. The tundra is treeless plain. A friendly person smiles at everyone can be described as sullen. No, that is false. To be sullen is not to be friendly. My neighbor is afraid of black cats. Would that be described as superstitious? True, yes. That one would have been true. Vaguely remember meeting you, but you're not sure. Yes, that's true. To be vaguely remembering, you're not sure. It's hazy, right? I like my friends so much, I feel contempt for them. Well, that is false. If you like your friends, you aren't going to feel contempt, this scorn, that's not a good thing. And people in the Bible were stricken with leprosy. I think you got that one correctly, at least I hope so. That is true. They were stricken, they were afflicted with the disease. Well, I hope that you did, as you were sitting right there, you were getting the correct answers. And if so, you're absorbing the vocabulary words and knowing what the words mean. What about in your reading book? In your reading book today, did you read the story from last time? This one called A Test from the Heart. A Test, the Heart Test. It's a really good story. If you didn't read it, you need to read that story. It's a really good story. Let me ask you a few questions about that story to see that you read it. It's a really good one to think about too. Who did Mary think would be pleased if she got a good grade on her math test? What do you think? Who would be pleased? Are you thinking parents, teacher, and herself? Yes, she thought they would be pleased, right? Number 2, where did Mary get the answers to the test? From where? Did you say her friend Steve? Raise your hand if you remembered it was her friend. Raise your hand if you even remembered her friend's name, Steve. Okay, so again, comprehension, can you remember what it was in the story that you read about? And hopefully you did. Why did Mary decide not to use the answers? Why did she decide not to use the answers? She knew it was wrong. It would not please the Lord, would it? It would not please the Lord. Mm-mm. And everything we do should please the Lord. And if it doesn't, we say, no, we won't do that. So conviction would tell us not to. What could Mary have done to have avoided the problem completely? What do you think? She could have simply stood right in front of him and said to his face, no, I cannot do that. When the topic first came up, right? That she could not cheat. She could have also worked harder on her math and asked her teacher for help instead of cheating or even considering cheating. You see why this is such a good story? This is something that's going to come up in your life. A really good story. What will you do? Will you say no in your life? When you're tempted, it's going to happen probably at some point. Someone's going to approach you or you're going to be tempted. And are you going to pass the test of integrity? See, that's why this story is called the heart test. It's not just a math test, but there's a heart test. What will we do? When we're tempted, will we say no? Will we peek, or will we pass the test of integrity? And I hope you will. Then there was this story, the Indian Trail, the old Indian Trail, and that you read. And why did Parker and Benjamin not want Hannah to go with them? And did you say that they would be afraid they thought she would be afraid to jump across the gully. And, gully is like a trench of where water used to be, and it dug this little trench where a creek might look where a creek used to be, perhaps, or a washout. Why did grandmother want Hannah to take a message to the men? She wanted to what? Did you say warn them? Warn them of what? Of the Indians? Is that what you said? They were waiting to attack the men, and she wanted to warn them about that. And why did Hannah jump over the gully that day? Why? Why did she jump over it? Why did she jump over the gully? To, did you say, save the lives of the men who were working in the fields? To save their lives, she was willing to do it. She had the courage in order to help someone else. And number 4, who was probably the most surprised and impressed with Hannah, of what Hannah had done? Who was the most surprised, do you think? And the most logical answer would be what? It was, did you say Parker? Now, if this had been a quiz, how many of those would you have gotten right? Would you have gotten all of them correct? Maybe just, did you miss one? Did you miss two? And that gives you an idea of how you're doing with your comprehension as you read your story. All right, well, we're going to hop right into language for the next part of our lesson here today. We're going to be looking at I'm going to go back to page 234 and 235 in your language book. And then we're going to go on and do the next couple pages in your book as well. So we're going to pause for just a moment. I'm going to get my language book, you get your language book, and then we'll look into our book. So don't go away. We'll be right back in just a second. Well, class, here we are back. And now we're looking at language, and we're going to go over some of these answers. Not all of them, but look at the bottom particularly. This is something that we need to not forget how to do. And I want to make sure you got all of those correct. Did you get pronoun I will bless the Lord at all times? We're on page 234. If you're not there, we're going to look at the bottom. Will bless, verb. Lord is a noun, and then adjective. It's an article. Preposition at, that's on your list, at all times. The noun comes at the end of the preposition. Times is a noun. All, what kind of times? All times. Describes, all is an adjective describing times. Number 2, adjective, his. Whose praise? His praise. Which one, what kind, how many, how much, whose, right? Praise is a noun. Shall is a verb. Be is a verb, shall be. Continually, adverb. ly word often is an adverb. Preposition in, my, adjective. Mouth, noun. If you're missing one, now, shall be. Sometimes an adverb will interrupt the verb phrase, so don't let that throw you or anything. Number 3, God, noun. Is a verb. Adjective, our is an adjective. Refuge is a noun. And is a conjunction or connecting word. Strength is a noun. That's a thing. Is an adjective. Remember, a, and the are adjectives. They're called the articles. Very, very. You see the word very? Just memorize that. Adverb, the word very. Present, adjective. Help, noun. In that case, it's a thing. In, preposition. Trouble, noun. And be careful with the word help. Help can be a verb. I went to help them. Then it would be verb. But look. Present help. So God is a help to us. In that case, it's acting as a noun. Number 4, pronoun I. Am is a verb. It's on your list. Fearfully, an ly word, is often an adverb. It's telling how you're made, right? Made. Made is a verb. Connecting word, conjunction. And again, wonderfully. Fearfully, wonderfully. ly words. It's modifying what? I am made. Okay? Where, when, how? Adverb questions. I am made how? Fearfully and wonderfully. Now let's go to page 235. 235, you see that there? And let's look and see how you did with these. Underline the subject and then the verb. Let's see. Underline the subject 1 time. Underline the correct verb in parentheses 2 times. So let's look. Colt, mother, are. It's a compound subject. Who and what are? Colt, mother, are. Girl, brother, no. The girl and her brother, no. Pen, pencil, are. Did you get it right? Chicks, mother, drink. They drink, right? One mother would be drinks, but together they're compound. It takes the plural verb, like we said yesterday. Comets, meteors are. Are. What's the subject? David and Melissa are. Now be careful on this one. Remember what we said about the word here and there? Here and there are not the subject. So look for a noun after the verb and see, is the verb talking about that? Or could we say David and Melissa are here with our food? We could. We could say David and Melissa are here with our food. And so that is the subject. David, Melissa. Compound. House, fence, need. Are you checking them to see that you got them right on page 235? Jessica, Taylor, Elizabeth are. It's more than one, it's plural. Smile, thank you. But thank you, that's a hyphenated word, so it's actually one word, okay? But thank you are nice additions to any situations, okay? And again, it's compound. A smile and a thank you. It's two things. Fish, the fish in the tank and the fish at the market look. Fish, fish, look. I hope you got all of those correct. Raise your hand if you got all of them correct. All right. Look at think B. Underline the subject one time. Underline the correct verb in parentheses. It's the same thing. Pilot was. John was. Ship was. Nobody is. Now, these are all singular, right? Light shines. House was. Where were you? Now look. You is the subject. Were is the verb. Be careful with the question sentence. Okay? Don't just look, oh, it's not where isn't the subject, is it? So don't just think, oh, it's the word right before, because no. Could you say, you were where last night? Yes, you were. Cereal and toast are his favorite breakfast foods. Foods is plural. So it's plural because there's two. And that makes plural because we have the word foods, which is also plural. And that's a big hint that it's plural too, because this equals this, right? These two together equals that there, foods. And so it's are. Cereal is, toast is, but cereal and toast are. Understand? Well, I hope you did a super job with that. And that's going to bring us into our new material. So we're going to look over here at page, let's see, 237 and 238 is for today. And so you did the other pages. And again, I'm not going over every single thing, but parents, you can help. And I have sent some things to help you out with that. But let's look at sit, the word sit. Okay, let's look at the word sit. Sit, sitting, sat, have sat. These are the forms of the word, depending on how it's used in the sentence. Present, the participle, past participle. You'll learn those terms later on when you get older, but just know these are the different forms that you could use. The have in parentheses means that sometimes you'll have a have sat or have whatever the verb is with it, okay? Sit means what? To rest, to be seated. What does sit mean? To rest. to be seated, not to be confused with set. What does set mean? Set, setting, set, have set, as opposed to sit, sitting, sat, have sat. Set is a completely different word than sit. What does set mean? To put or place something. What does sit mean? To rest, to be seated. Now let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, let me think if I can give you an example of that, okay? All right, so you see me sitting. Sit, or I can stand, or I can sit. To sit means to be seated, right? That's what sit means. It also means to rest or to be seated, right? To sit. What does set mean? Set means, look, to place something. Is that going very well? Here's a little desk here. You see this little pointer I like to use at times? I'm gonna set it down. I'm gonna set it down. That means to set, to place something. I'm gonna set it down. That is set, but look, whoops, but sit. Okay, you understand the difference between sit and set? They are not, I would not say, I sat down today. I sat down today. No, I sat down. I know. You will hear people say that. My pastor says that all the time. But it's not correct. Okay, it's not correct. So just keep that in mind and use it correctly in the sentence as we do this together, okay? And sit, but set, it has an object that's being set down, right? Set your books on the table, right? Set the table for supper, right? But you sit, okay? So anytime an object is being put or placed, it's set, but you, okay? An exception to that rule would be something like the sun set, right? The sun is going down, we say it is set, right? We don't say the sun is sitting, the sun set. So, and we often, when we have a word called, I saw a beautiful sunset, right? So that one is just an unusual use of it, but so you'll just learn that one. Does everyone understand that? Okay, so we're going to go back to our book. All right, so let's go back to our book here. So based on what we just said with set and sit, Jared sits or sets in row 5. Jared what? Did we say Jared sits or Jared sets? Who said Jared sits? Yes, to sit or to be seated. Please sit the books on the table. Just sit them right there. Or would you say, please set them on the table? Have you heard someone say that before? Just sit them there anywhere. Set them there is what you should say. So don't confuse them or say those incorrectly. And this is one that you may hear incorrectly. So let's look at our book. We just went over what it means to sit. Tim and I sit in the same row. Tim is sitting 2 seats behind me. He sat there. He has sat there all year. These are just different forms of the word sit. Sit, sitting, sat, has sat. See that? And those are the different forms of the word. Then there's set, to put or place something, right? Set, setting, set, have set. Set these heavy grocery sacks down. Luke is setting my hat on the shelf. Yesterday, Ella set the baby in Grandpa's lap. Right, you're putting or placing the baby. I have always set my umbrella in the rack. I have always set. have, set is example of that. All right, so we have the word sit, set. And read through that box again. Always save these papers that have these boxes of information to refer back to for quiz and tests and things like that. And you're going to have a quiz, so keep that in mind too. Hopefully you are understanding everything. The quiz that you're going to have, this will be on the next one, but everything up until now could be on the quiz that you're going to have. All right, so fill in the blanks with the correct form of sit, set. And if you use the form of the verb set, circle the object which is being put or placed. So don't forget to do the second part, to circle the object, what is being set. So for example, if the sentence was this one, I have always set my umbrella, you'd circle umbrella, that's what's being set. And then you know you used it correctly because it has an object of what's being set, whereas sit does not. But it's just you know, that's, you're not placing something. All right, so you go ahead and do that, and go ahead and find the pages 237 and 238, all about sit and set, and hopefully you understand. And until next time, guess what? I want you to be looking for the next video. You take care, and I will see you next time right here.